Hello again, children over 30. It's Drew here, back with another product review. Today we're going to be talking about a component of these badass motherfuckers right here, sent to me courtesy of Leon Basson to demo. So the part that we're specifically talking about in this video, or I'm specifically talking about, there's no we, but the V2 of the Intuition liner. So this one upgrades from the last one. The tongue's been moved up a little bit. The padding around here has changed. And that's really all that I know. I'll pick up anything else that I missed in the second part of this video. But this Intuition makes the best ski and snowboard liners that you can get. And Leon got them to make us a skate liner, which is pretty tight. Some features of the liner. There is this heel pad, which is removable via Velcro if you don't want it. The material in the heel pad is nice and squishy, and I like this. Let me tell you why. In my blank liners and a lot of the liners that I've seen that have some sort of heel pad in them, it's really dense, which is tight for jumping off like really big stuff, but it doesn't do a lot for your general comfort and just rolling around and stuff like that. It's not a mild shock absorption sort of mechanism. Whereas this, I would put, nice and in between. It's not so soft that when you step on it, if you're a bigger dude, it's just gonna squish and then you're gonna be back to square one. But it's not a super dense piece of rubber either. So I think this is really designed to improve the skating experience as a whole, as opposed to, just helping you out on some hammers that you're gonna throw down once or twice in your life. Or zero in my case. Another feature, this thing is vented everywhere. There's a bunch of holes here, and there's a big triangle pattern holes here, and then there's some holes on the bottom. So very breathable liner. Assuming your shells are going to allow these liners to be breathable, they are going to do a superb job at doing that. You can also see there's lace holes on either side. The setup was sent to me without laces in these holes, and I had some really thin white laces laying around, and I put them in there and laced them up. And I will say that I got a little bit of lace bite when I really got in there and got them tight. But I think the laces that come with this are usually pretty wide, so that could not be an issue with that. As far as flexibility, the liner without, you probably know there's different things that you can put on here to make them, more stiff and rigid. But without that, it's a very malleable liner. So if you're somebody that's really big into doing topsides and stuff like that, this liner without any of the reinforcements is definitely going to aid your ability to do so, or at least not hinder your ability to do so. In general, though, I think it's plenty supportive. I mean, at least in the skate that I've had it in, which is the Seba SX boot. To my experience with the reinforcement things that you can put on here, might end up being pretty brief just because I don't need them. So the big thing about this liner is its ability to be used in size down scenarios. I can tell you that I tried to take my blank liner and shove it into the SX shell, and that shit was not happening. I took out all the laces and everything, and there was no way. This thing slides right in there, it's fine. So with that, of course, you're gonna get, with a lot of brands, the ability to get a shell that's way closer to the size of your actual foot. Some companies do 2-3 sizes within one shell, so your size 11 skate is actually like a 14 shell with an 11 liner in it, which is ridiculous. Personally, again, being a fan of K2 and Rollerblade, I've never really had that issue, but nonetheless, this definitely opens up options for a lot of people. I'm very appreciative of that. One thing I will say is that it kind of feels like a size down liner, in that it feels a little bit thin and hollow maybe, and that makes it sound worse than it really is. But when I was skating them yesterday, it felt like the ankle was, relatively snug and secure, but it didn't have that nice cushiony, pillowy sock-like feeling that I get, again with a blank liner or a good fat MyFit Fat Boy or something like that. Where again, you have that feeling of just putting your feet in a bunch of pillows. This doesn't really give you that feeling. The foam in it is sufficiently dense to where, you don't feel a lot of pinching everywhere. You're not gonna feel bolts on the inside of the boots jabbing you in certain places and stuff. It'll definitely protect you from that. But it's just not a very cushiony feeling liner. which them being like the industry standard in ski and snowboard boots makes me think that maybe this cushiony sock like pillowy kind of liner feeling is maybe something that you really only get in rollerblades. I can tell you certainly don't get them in hockey skates, but nonetheless, we're all spoiled. So I would like to see a little bit more soft padding incorporated, maybe along the top and then in the top of the ankle area, like above your ankle bone. So that should do it for the first part of this. Got a lot of miles to put on these things, so I'm gonna do a couple more videos and then get to that. All right, here we go. Second half of the Intuition liner review. Hell yeah. So after spending quite a bit of time with these, I'm a pretty big fan. I still stand by my assessment of them being like a size down liner, so they're definitely a liner that you get with a purpose in mind. If you already have a skate that has like, you know, a fat boy in it or like a blank liner or something, like this may not be the best option for you, assuming you like the fit of that already. But as a size down liner, there's not a lot of ways that I can imagine it being improved upon, or at least improved upon objectively. There were a couple complaints that I had initially going into it. So the first thing was just about the toe box being maybe like a little bit roomy and the whole thing maybe feeling a little bit hard. And, you know, that, I think a lot of it was probably just how fucking cold it was outside that first day that I was skating them. But yeah, once you wear them for a while, I mean, the foam really does kind of contour around. And I ended up getting, let me just pull them out. I already did a review on them, but the yellow super feet for these. And I can definitely see why, you know, all the dudes, it seems, that use these liners use these footbeds, because that in combination with the Seba boot and everything just really makes the whole package come together. It makes the whole thing just hug your foot like a sock, like grindable sock. So yeah, it's dope. I had another complaint initially that was the top of it felt a little bit too thin maybe, like it didn't fill out the volume of the skate enough in my opinion. And I kind of stand by that assessment as well. I ended up trying these things, you know, the removable what have yous that you can put on the back. And really at no point in skating the Seba was I like, man, I wish this was like a lot more supportive. Like that is a supportive fucking skate if there ever was one. But these were nice just to kind of fill out that volume. And I got to thinking, okay, so there's a little backstory on this. When I was like probably 11 or 12, I had a company, quote unquote, that made skate products. And I had three things that I made. I had some shock absorbers that I made like a mold out of plaster of Paris. And then I got like some silicone caulk like from the hardware store and squirted that shit down in there and made like heel pads. It actually worked pretty fucking good. And then I had, I would bring sheets of neoprene straight up like to the skate park and then like trace homeboys' footbeds with a razor blade and like cut them out some insoles and sell them. I had the idea for that neoprene to do really, I mean, something like this, but the idea was that I had some skates that had really thin, shitty liners in them, and I thought it would be cool to have something that you could just put on over your liner, like an extra liner around the top that, you know, gave you a lot more padding around the sides. And then theoretically, my thought going into it was that if you had a big, squishy liner, then you could get really snug skates and then really count on your liners for flex. And I don't know how much validity there is to that. Again, I was like 11 or 12 when I came up with this idea. And they didn't really work out because, I mean, the whole means of fastening them to the liner, I mean, I couldn't fucking make this shit with like the metal ring on it and stuff and the Velcro on the inside. I probably could have done the Velcro, but I didn't. But I think doing something like that for this liner, especially because these already exist, may not be a bad idea. Like if they had a thing like this and it was just the foam from the liner, maybe 3/4 or like half as thick as the liner itself, that you could just add to the top and get a little bit more cushion like around the, you know, the cuff, the ankle, shin area. I think it would really open up a lot of doors for people using these. And not only that, but I think these things specifically have a lot of untapped potential outside of what they're really being used for now. Like, I know some people that have like rims and carbon freeze and shit like that that would love something like this that was made for those liners that just made them like super stiff. Like, what if, there was this thing that you could just put around the liner on your rims and all of a sudden they were like stiff as hell, like on the sides, but you still had that V cut in the back. I mean, it would totally complement so much technology that's already out there so well. So again, like, I'm just such a fan of this thing that's wrapped around the back. It's super dope. And I think that they should make a lot more versions of it. Different heights, obviously, different stiffnesses. Like, I would say go as far as make one that's made out of like some actual stiff plastic. Again, like for that rims or carbon free situation where people just want really stiff shit. Or people that have had them for a while and they're starting to get floppy, they can put these in there and get back that feeling of, when their skates were new. One last thing about these. I think the idea of the Wizard setup for a lot of people is kind of intimidating because you need a super expensive boot and a super expensive frame and then super expensive wheels to make the whole thing come together. So I think it wouldn't be a bad idea, again, coming back to the idea of these and making them available for like more skates and stuff, more thicknesses, more heights, etc. I think would allow a lot more people to at least get their foot in the door. You know what I'm saying? Like, if somebody has like some razors or some shit, and they could afford maybe, the boot with the liner in it, or just the liner, or just the frame. It's really not feasible for them to really get down on the Wizard frame. Like, it's not going to happen. But I think if these were available and they could slip them into their skates that they already had and stiffen them up, and then, get on their NR100s and zip around and have all the support they needed to not flop out and potentially break their ankles, I think it would be a lot more feasible for that person to get into that setup. So I do think making a wider variety of these for a wider variety of applications can only help the game, so to speak. I think it's a good idea on all fronts. So all in all, Intuition liner, it's pretty dope. I've been seeing a bunch of companies jock their shit lately with like the removable heel pads and stuff around the outside and all that. And it's merited, man. Like, once you skate these liners, you understand why everybody's stealing ideas from them.